Line's good.
Never on.
Whoa.
Hard. Hardly.
Come on, Brent. Line's good. Got real close. The hair high, right? Try and hit 2/3.
Have they saved it for her? Yes, they have.
Welcome to Game of Stones, everybody. I am Sean Graham. Scott alongside, as always. Hello, Scott.
Sean, good evening. I just was a few minutes late because we were making dinner. And what did you have for dinner tonight?
I had a delectable, beautiful, just mouth-watering bowl of Cheerios.
Ooh, one of your favorites.
One of my faves. What did you have?
Seke kapusta.
A Hungarian dish.
A little bit of sauerkraut and carrots.
Nice.
And pork. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. All stewed up there together. Pretty good.
There you
go. Probably a good thing that we are doing this in separate rooms.
Yeah,
So
definitely. Yes. Yeah, that cabbage can get to you.
Sure can. But so Sean, what are we here to talk about tonight?
Well, jam-packed episode here tonight. We will preview the 2025 Men's World Curling Championship. I will put a timestamp down below in the show notes if that's what you would like to listen to, and only that. But before we get to that, Scott, we do have to recap the Women's World Curling Championship, which wrapped up on Sunday in Uijeongbu in South Korea. And I got to say, just off the top here, Scott, the static shot that they used of Uijeongbu did not really make it look like the most appealing place to live. The one where it was all the same apartment building going slightly up the hill, that didn't look that appealing. But they do have a monorail, so I don't know. Like, I'm sure Uijeongbu is a lovely place. They just, I don't think, picked the greatest vista for the static shot to use all week.
Yeah, maybe not, but it is mountainous. I do feel like
But show the mountains then.
I do feel like there was a shot of like a river, mountains. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I just thought the apartment buildings were a bit much. But anyway, Scott, going into the week in our preview, we always like to ask the question, how many teams can win any given event? Going into this one, you said one.
Well, in jest, I said one. I think there were five that could have won, but in the end, there could really only be one if that team played the way that they played all year. And that was the correct call. So
indeed,
good job by me, Sean. I know we're going to talk about the men later,
yep,
but I've picked the Brier, the Scotties, and the Women's Worlds winners this year.
Pretty good. It's pretty good.
I mean,
you're on a roll. You're on a heater.
Yeah, I'm on a heater. So go to whatever sports betting app still lets you play and bank something on my lock of the week.
Well, it'll be nothing compared to my shoe-in of the week. So yes, Rachel Homan goes back-to-back, belly to belly, to win her third Women's World Curling Championship, beating Silvana Tirinzoni in the final. She went 10-2 over the course of the week, losing to Scotland and South Korea during the week. There was an opening day loss to Scotland and Sophie Jackson, and then lost to Korea through the middle of the week, Monday or Tuesday. Overall, though, they were pretty dominant. They scored the most points in the field, and they gave up the fewest points in the field. That's a good recipe for success. Yeah, they were the best team on the Draught Shot Challenge. They didn't have the best shooting percentage over the course of they did have the best shooting percentage over the course of the week by about a percentage point over Anna Hasselborg, actually a percentage point and a half over Anna Hasselborg. So all of the advanced metric-y type stats were certainly in their favor over the course of the week for being the best team. The playoffs were what they were. The game that she had to play against Sophie Jackson, the 3-6 game, I got to tell you, Team Jackson played great. And we're down at the break by a score of 7-3. And I think I put out on the Blue Sky there that Rebecca Morrison, who throws the 4 stones, might have been playing the best skips thrower game to be down by 4 at the break in the history of the sport. Like, she was really good.
Yeah, she was really good, and it was just Rachel Homan was like that much better. And where the rocks ended up happened to be places where only Rachel Homan, I think, could make the shots she made to make those big scores. The one in the first end where the rock sort of came to rest in the top 12 after I think a hit. And I was like, I think they might play this double. They wouldn't play this double, would they? So they had to like hit one back in between 2 of theirs and make the double sort of through the hole. And she's like, oh yeah, I can do that. And sure did, ran up, hit it for 4. And it was kind of on after that. I watched that game, but I'll admit I started playing New York Times crosswords a little bit in the second half. So like Team Scotland played really well that game, but they just sort of ran into a buzzsaw.
Yeah, not much you could do there. And then it was on to the semifinal. I was able to watch this game the next morning without knowing what the result was. And I am glad that I did not know what the result was, because that was a very, very good game. I don't think it got to the level of last year's semifinal between these two teams. And maybe that's partly because of the crowd. The crowd was louder last year in Sydney. That might have also been a product of just the way the building was. The fans were very high in the arena in Uijeongbu, so you couldn't hear them as much. And it was full for that game, in that semifinal game. But it was a good one nonetheless. 6-5 in an extra end. The shot of the game, perhaps the shot of the week for Rachel Homan, came in the 10th end, and very much was looking at giving up 2. She was up by 1, and Team Gim had the hammer, and Rachel Homan makes the very thin double to get the force, and it's only 1 for Team Gim. Otherwise, it was game over for Rachel Homan. It's got that shot. They didn't need the big sweep, but it was the exact same shot, essentially same angle as have they saved it for her? Yes, they have. Yeah. Against Michelle Engelai. That's from the 2017 Scotties, which is in our Open. That shot was so similar. This really thin double against the loss.
Yeah, and I was sort of like, oh my gosh, it looks like she missed it the whole way down. And no, they saved it just enough to hit it low. And you're right. That was against the loss. And, she stepped up, made it, and then took advantage in the extra, leaving no doubt. So pretty good game, though. Pretty good game. I also watched it in the morning without knowing who had won. So it's good.
Yeah. So that was really good to see. And then the final was, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good either. I didn't think. Like, it was fine is how I would sum it up. Against Silvana Tirinzoni, 2 blanks and then a steal, and Tirinzoni gets a deuce, force, and the game picks up a little bit in the back half in terms of rocks in play and action. And it turns out to be a big steal of 2 for Rachel Homan in the 8th, and then the attempt by Elena Pats for a miracle shot in the 9th does not materialize. So it's a steal of 1 and a 7-3 final for Team Canada. I didn't think, Scott, the final was particularly remarkable. Rachel said after in the interview that she felt that Switzerland was carrying the plane the first half. And from my seat, that wasn't what was happening. I really thought it was even to being slightly in Canada's favor.
Yeah, I sort of thought Switzerland was as well. It's not like last year in the final where Switzerland really was sort of the dominant team, and then at halftime at the 5th end break, like Homan seemed to step it up a bit. I didn't feel like that's what happened here, but I do think there was a slight Switzerland edge early. And to keep it tight, I think it was 2-2 right at the break.
Yep.
And then that big force there in the sixth end that was pretty good, a pretty good force. And then that was sort of the momentum that Team Homan needed. Again, they were able to convert then their first hammer there, and that was sort of their trademark all week, was being able to convert hammers. So
but the deuce and 7 was weird because and they said it on the broadcast. I'm not sure what Elena Pats was trying to do with her last. Like she played this double, or attempted a double, but ends up taking her own out. Shooter rolls out, and it's a wide open draw. Just hit the paint for Homan.
Yeah.
Not quite sure what they were trying to do in that shot in the 7th. The second Canadian stone they were trying to hit, on the angle it was on, was right in front of a Swiss stone. So you make contact with the Canadian stone, the Swiss stone's going, the Canadian stone's never going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't quite sure. And I'm not sure if they really talked about it that clearly, because Vic didn't seem to know either. And he can understand what they're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a strange call. And where the game turned, right? Is on that call. So I don't know either. I felt like both teams all week had been a bit tight on time. And for Team Canada, that for sure was in their minds, playing that semifinal, making sure that they were, I won't say banking time, but I don't think anybody was sad with the blanks in the first couple ends other than us watching at home. But that seemed to give them that extra time, and then they had the time to talk stuff out. And I don't know if Team Switzerland did that as much this week. So also Tirinzoni didn't play her best game, quite a few, just the wrong weight. I saw a couple of flashes even. So the ice was different in that, with the one team out there, only one game, even in the semifinals, there's both happening at the same time. So single sheet, I think the airflow was a bit different, bigger crowd, as you said. So the ice seemed a bit patchy. They weren't picking up on it early, but Team Homan did pick up on it faster than Team Switzerland. And that proved to their advantage.
Yeah. And as you say, Silvana Tirinzoni was the low person in the game at 75%, Pat's at 76%. So, I mean, congratulations to them. 6 straight finals is kind of nuts.
Yeah, insane. Yeah.
So, nothing to sneeze at there. And so, as you say, it's the second consecutive for Rachel Homan, third overall. Scott, at what point do you think Rachel Homan is going to start to believe that she's good?
It's just unbelievable, Sean.
I counted the first question in the post game. She said it 4 times.
Yeah, that's her word. And I wouldn't be surprised if she was doing it on purpose, maybe as kind of a joke. She's kind of funny that way, right? Well, because the second question was, you've been in Korea for a while. This is a long time in Korea, long week. What has the reception been? And I think she started to say it's been incredible. And she didn't use it in that answer, but yeah, it does just seem to be her go-to. Those 2 words mean the same thing.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So, so congratulations, Rachel Homan. Over on the other, one other note before we move off of that. I thought it was very interesting in the semifinal game in the 9th end. They were down 1 with the hammer. They had a chance to blank on seconds rocks. I think it was Emma's last. And there was discussion of, do we peel? Do we tap something in? What do we do? And every other member of the team at the throwing end wanted to peel and play for the blank. And Rachel basically said no. I'm Rachel F. Homan. We're going to do what I want to do, and we're going to score 2 points. And they scored 2 points.
And they did. Yeah. And I remember thinking that too while I was watching, I don't know if this is the way to go, but I guess when you're feeling it, you're feeling it. And
she had to make an amazing shot in the 10th end to not lose, but she's Rachel F. Homan. She can do that.
And then, you think about it the other way. Okay, we're down 1, maybe we get forced, and then they have the hammer in the extra end. Yeah. So if you've got a chance, go for it. And I'm happy to see this team doing that.
So on the other side of the Sunday games, it was the bronze medal game. It was Team Wang winning the bronze medal from China over Team Gim from South Korea. Great week for Team Wang coming through. We'll talk about their quarterfinal win against Anna Hasselborg, but this game got a little out of hand in the second half with a score of 2 by the Chinese in the 7th, and then steal coming home, and that was it. Congratulations to them. The big news, though, out of that is that China, despite not having competed in 2024, that bronze medal gets them an Olympic spot next year. If they had lost that game, they would not have qualified for the Olympics. As it is, though, they do qualify for the Olympic Games, having tied in points with Norway at 11 for the 2-year total, but with the higher finish, that's your tiebreaker, and China is in.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible, right? Pretty unbelievable that China can go from 0 points all the way up to get that 11 and push their way into the field. Good job by them. Really good week. That was not a team that we'd identified before the week as a team with a chance to win. Of course, they did win the Pan-Continental back in October. So, they've sort of have the pedigree of winning. But it was something like we hadn't seen them in a while, in a few years. And so we weren't sure sort of the level with which they would come to this event. That said, they were pretty good all week. I watched the game they played against Canada at the end of the round robin, and they were full fare there. I mean, I didn't think Homan was ever going to lose to them, but they put up a good game and had good games all week. So congratulations to them.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just fact check you there, Scott. You're mixing up the Chinese men and women in the Pan-Continental. The Chinese women got the bronze medal this year in the Pan-Continental, but very good results there for them, and definitely a lot of improvement for the younger players from when we last saw them in 2021. In the quarterfinal game against Anna Hasselborg, Wang made 2 great runbacks in the 10th end, angle runbacks on both to win the game. Anna Hasselborg was not pleased with having lost that game. I think that's a fair way to put her reaction to it, but she did everything she could. I don't think she could have taken away on her last that angle run, because she had to protect against the easier shot, and Wang just makes an incredible shot.
Yeah, sometimes that happens, right? And you're kind of like, geez. You don't know what to say. You just shake the hand and say, congratulations, you got me today. Because as a skip, you've got to usually leave the team one shot. Like, you just want to make it the hardest shot possible. And you're right. I think Hasselborg did that. So tough one. Yeah.
And so elsewhere, obviously, Anna Hasselborg comes in 5th or 6th, depending on how that went. I think probably 5th. And Sophie Jackson, Team Scotland, finish in 6th, having lost the other quarterfinal game. 4th place, of course, goes to Team Gim from South Korea, the hosts. Going to be a little disappointed, I would think, for them after the medal last year. But Scott, this team is really, really good. And as we look ahead to the Olympics, they still have to get there out of South Korea, which is not necessarily a given, but if they get there, they are certainly a medal threat, if not amongst the group of favorites, depending on who comes out of Canada. That would potentially change their betting odds, depending on who comes out of Canada, as I say, but they're really good.
Really good. Yeah. They were the most impressive team all week that I watched. Just so consistent, super technical. Like their technical skills are amazing. Very consistent deliveries, throws, good sweeping, good communication. Just a really, really, really strong team, and they're definitely going to be a podium favorite when they get to the Olympics.
All right, and those are your playoff teams. So we'll just run through the rest of the standings. In 7th place, it was Madeleine Dupont of Denmark at 5-7, followed by Norway, Marianne Roervik 5 and 7. Japan is next, Sayaki Yoshimura 4-8. Stefania Constantini, really tough week for the Italians, 4-8 for them. Dilsat Yildiz 3-9, tied with Tabitha Peterson of the United States, but won that game, so she finishes in 11th. Peterson in 12th, and Lithuania, Virginia Paleskete, 0-12 in that country's first appearance, but cool for them to have been there. So those are your final standings. With that, as I said, the Olympic qualification is set. The Italians are in as the hosts. On points, in order, it is Canada, Switzerland, Korea, Sweden, Denmark, Scotland, China. That means that Norway, the United States, Japan, and Turkey and Lithuania are the four teams who are in this field who are not in to the Olympics. But when you look at that list, Scott, one of Norway, the US, or Japan is not going to make it. There are only 2 spots left in the 2026 Olympic Games.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty tough for one of those 3 nations to not be there participating. I want to say Norway and the US have been to all the Olympics. Maybe not on the women's side for Norway, but Japan has definitely been there over the course of the last 20 years. So, just it's going to be a real dogfight to get those final 2 spots.
Yeah, and think too of like who's not in this list of even competing right now, because Czechia used to be pretty strong on the women's side. Obviously, the Russians had good teams, and they're not participating right now. Like the depth of the women's field is really, really good right now.
Yeah, and I'm not sure, Sean, do you know who all gets invited to the qualification event? Is it
it's based on rankings. There's also a pre-qualification, so you can. There's a last chance qualifier to get into the last chance qualifier. It's like the pre-trials we had in Canada a few years ago. So there is that event to get into the qualifier. I would think that Norway, the US, Japan, and probably Turkey are auto into that, having been the first 4 out, but we'll have to see when the official list comes out.
Yeah, I'm looking at the rules for the Olympic qualification event. 2 teams. Eligibility will be the National Olympic Committees ranked from 9 to 13 in the ranking list.
Okay, so that would include Estonia too.
And then the top 3 NOCs from the pre-qualification event, as you mentioned there. So then the pre-qualification event, any National Olympic Committee that qualified for the 24 or 25 World Curling Championships, but did not qualify directly to the Olympics or to the OQE.
Okay. So that would then leave Lithuania and New Zealand as possibilities.
Yes, and then any National Olympic Committee that has qualified for the A division in the European Curling Championships or the A division in the Pan-Continental Curling Championships in 24 or 25, but has not already qualified.
Okay, so that could include, if memory serves, I think Hong Kong was in the A last year. I can't remember if Taipei was as well. So some teams that can play, they'll be able to, if people want to travel and play in it, they'll be able to get a full field.
Yeah, I think so. And that'll be in Kelowna, right?
The pre-qualifier is, or the qualifier is. I don't know where the pre-qualifier, they got to come up with better names for these things.
Yeah. The pre-qualification event.
Yes, before the qualification event.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see where that is, and we'll get into that over the course of the summer at some point as we look ahead to the Olympics. But there you go, Scott. Anything else from the Women's World Curling Championship you want to talk about?
I don't think so. I think it was a fun week. That's enough for me.
Okay. Well, with that, let us turn our attention to the 2025 Men's World Curling Championship, heading to the beautiful city of Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. Very excited for this event to be in Moose Jaw, one of my favorite cities. There are 13 teams in the field. We will go through all 13 of them, but as we are wont to do, Scott, of those 13, how many can win the 2025 Men's World Curling Championship?
This one I think is bigger, Sean. I think there's 6 that could win.
Okay. Wow. I have it as smaller, as fewer. So who do you got?
So Canada.
Yeah.
Italy,
Sure.
Scotland,
Naturally.
Sweden.
Of course.
Then I think
Those are the four I have.
Those are the four you have. So I think Switzerland could win. I think the US could win.
Ooh.
And I think Japan could win.
Okay. Interesting. So that's 7.
Yeah. So I guess 7 is my answer.
Okay. My answer is 4. I think it's Sweden, Canada, Italy, and Scotland. I'm the most down on the Swiss team at all of these previews of this Swiss team.
Okay.
I'm always down on them compared to you, or when we do the Euros preview with Ryan. I'm always way more down on them, but I think it's those 4. Actually, this field, Scott, I don't think has the depth of the women's field. It actually reminds me of Pool B from the Brier, where there was those top teams and then a chunk in the middle where there was there's the 1 or 2 teams at the bottom, or that you expect to be at the bottom of that Brier pool, and then teams, 3 through 8, who you're like, all right, well, let's have them play and see what happens. It was really hard to do that, and I kind of feel that way about teams 5 through 10, maybe 11.
Okay.
In this field,
like Moscadovitz did well at the Euros, right?
He did.
Yeah, let me just make sure. I'm looking right here. Yeah. Medaled, I think, or
won it.
Won. Oh yeah, won it.
Yeah, I would say that's doing well.
That's medaling.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like Moscadowitz did well. They could make some noise.
Interesting. So you think a European championship could lead to great success at a Worlds, and yet when Madalena Dupont did it, interesting.
Yeah, a little more fluky there. Yeah, but okay, maybe Japan was a bit of a stretch for me to say, but
all right. Well, let's go through the field and we'll see what we think and if our minds change at the end of this. So I will go through in the order of like power rankings by Sean, and I will start with the defending champions from Sweden. It is Niklas Edin playing in his 14th World Championship, went through unscathed last year in Switzerland, going 13-0 to win the gold medal, beat Brad Gushu 6-5 in the final. Bit of a down year, though, for Niklas Edin based on his standard. He is 35-27 on the season. That includes a 6-3 at the Euros. Did not make it past a quarterfinal in any of the slams this year. Only 38% hammer efficiency. And most recently, they were in Swift Current last weekend and lost to Team Libis in the quarterfinal of that event. So not coming in with a great deal of momentum. So even though they are the defending champions and have won multiple world championships, this foursome, not a great season so far for Team Edin.
Not by their standards, no. Hasn't been great. All that said, they're still one of the best teams in the world, and if they put it together, they'll be fine. But I think the year that they've had to date is a bit of a warning sign that, there's a lot of miles on that knee of Niklas Edin's and his back.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you start to wonder, might this be the end of the Niklas Edin team come the end of the quad? But I have to think, Sean, that their focus is squarely on the Olympics in 11 months. So all the results from this year, yeah, they're not as good as they'd usually been, but are they just sort of taking a mental step back to then get prepared for next fall and then gearing up to peak in February?
Yeah. I mean, they have played fewer games. Now, part of that is that they haven't made as many finals, so they haven't played as many playoff games in events as they usually do, but they are down on games overall for sure. And I have this recollection that they did this in the lead up to the 2022 games. Now that was aided by the fact that there weren't as many events going on.
Yeah.
I have this memory of them having a couple down seasons and still doing well at the Worlds, but not really taking not taking those events seriously, but working on things and doing stuff and then sort of putting it together for the big events. So certainly they are capable of flipping the switch at this point in their careers.
Yeah. So we'll see what this week brings, but I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised anywhere other than them missing the playoffs. I'd be pretty surprised by that.
Yeah. Should also note that they are still searching for that elusive Swedish national title. Still can't quite get that one.
One day they'll get that.
All right, let's move on to the next team in my rankings. It is going to be Scotland, another team seeking out a national championship still. It is Bruce Mowat making his 6th appearance, the 2023 world champions. They went 11-4 last year. They are 70-14 on the season. That is a lot of games, but also a lot of wins.
A lot of wins.
They won the Tour Challenge, the Canadian Open, and the National, and lost. Then went on to lose the final of the Scottish National Championship to Team Craik. And Scott, overall this season, they've been very, very good. They are a world champion.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you look at the numbers, their force efficiency this year is 72%, which is like bonkos high.
Yeah.
They're really, really good. But they also have this weird thing where they didn't win the nationals. And I don't think there's any discussion about the Olympics, but maybe there will be. I don't know. I don't know. Do they need to like prove something here? We talked about this with Sophie Jackson because it was the same thing with them. And I said, I don't think these guys have to prove as much as Team Jackson. There was a lot more, I think, pressure on the women than there are on the men's side here, but there's still something here.
I mean, I think there's them wanting to go and say, there is no discussion. We are the best team. So yeah, but they could also point to their track record. So it's like, this is our track record. We have been the best team. Let us go and show you on the ice why we've been the best team. They have more wins than any team on tour this year, numbers wise, more wins and fewer losses.
Yes.
So when that's the case, I think it's pretty strong, but coming out here and, having another gold medal finish would definitely, in my mind, seal the deal that they would be the team going to the Olympics.
Yeah, and let me correct myself. I said they lost to James Craik in the final. They lost to Ross White in the final, who had beaten James Craik in the semifinal. But yeah, I think, Scott, there's something here that, I don't think you want to see a fired up Bruce Mowat, like these guys feeling like they need to prove something, because that makes them even scarier.
Definitely does, yeah.
All right, let's move on to the Canadians. It is Team Jacobs, second world championship for Brad Jacobs, but he did win the other one he was in. Scott, do you want to take a guess? This is quite interesting for me. All of the Canadian players have played in a world championship before. All of them have won world championships before, but all of them have different last appearances. So the last time they were in, do you want to take a guess? So Brad Jacobs was 2013. Do you want to take a guess at the other three?
Yeah, so Brett Gallant would have been 2022.
Correct.
Then Ben Hebert would have gotten there with Cooey in 2019.
Correct.
And Mark would have done it when he played with, oh boy. Also, like when he played with Kevin Martin, was it that long ago?
No, it was with Cooey 2016.
2016. Okay.
Yeah. So, but all of them are back for the first time in a minute. 3 years for Gallant, but longer for the rest of them. Yeah. They went 12-1 through the Brier. They are 53-18 on the season. Scott, they scored a ton of points at the Brier. Now that was aided by a game in which they scored 20 points, but even independent of that, they scored a whole ton of points. They played 13 games. They scored 33 multiples over the course of the week. They scored they scored 0.93 points per end. Not points per end where they scored, of course, but like for every end they played, they averaged 0.9 points. That is very high.
Yeah, you're going to win a lot of bonspiels when you do that. And what they were really good at, like you said, was generating those multiples. And so when you look at this field and you think of the big run back ability of everyone, you think, okay, is this team going to be able to generate those twos using the corner guards, staggered guards, all those kinds of things? And I think they will be. So if they can get on a heater like they were on at the Briar, they're definitely hard to beat. One of the best teams in the world. They can, get a little in their heads, slip up a bit. We saw Jacobs get low on time a couple times at the Briar, but I think these guys are all pros, and they should put together a pretty good week.
Yeah. All right, Scott, let's move on then to the Italians. And it is the 11th appearance for Joel Returnaz. It was somewhat interesting to me, Scott. He was actually living in Lugano, Switzerland at this point, based on the media guide. But the rest of them are in Trento, Italy. They went 10-5 last year, winning the bronze medal. 6-3 at the Euros, 41-29 overall on the season. They went 5-1 through the Italian championships, but for the Slam season, not the same level of success as we saw last year. They have missed the playoffs, been in a tiebreaker, quarterfinal, and semifinal in the Slams so far. 40% hammer efficiency on the season. And Scott, you know how Joel Returnaz has that the trucks hat?
Trucks, yeah.
Trucks hat. One of his interests, per the media guide, are American cars, which I think is interesting for an Italian fellow to basically say, stuff it, Lamborghini, Ferrari, Maserati, or Fiat. We don't need you.
I like my American cars.
Yeah.
And you know what? America doesn't even make cars anymore. They make trucks.
Mostly.
Yeah.
Well, that's why he has the hat.
There you go.
Yeah. So Scott, this team has not had the year that we saw last year. So they're not coming in with the same level of momentum. But they didn't win last year. They won a bronze, but I don't know. Again, it's kind of like Nicodine. Like, they're not coming in at the standard that we've seen in the past few years. So what do we expect from them? I don't know. And is it similar to what we saw with Stefania Constantini, where is there a bit of a letdown because there's not really any pressure in terms of the Olympics? You're in, you're in. And is it all about setting up what next year is going to look like? You're obviously going to try to win each game, but I don't know. I'm very curious to see how they do this week.
Yeah, me too. There's a wide range of outcomes for this team, but I think what they're going to be wanting to do most of all is sort of play as they want to play at the Olympics and sort of get down whatever sort of communication issues they've had or turns they want to work on. Like, use this event to really test things in a high pressure environment without actually having that pressure, right? Mm-hmm. You've got the best teams in the world that are most likely going to be the same teams that you play in the Olympics. So use this opportunity to work some stuff out. I know they do that every week, but at this kind of stage, I think that's what they have to be doing, is prepping to be ready for the Olympics next year.
All right, Scott, let's move on to, I guess, the Swiss. We'll do the Swiss. I actually had them lower, but we'll do the Swiss now. It is Benoit Schwartz van Berkel, his 9th appearance here alongside Yannick Schwaller, who is the skip, and Schwartz van Berkel is throwing the 4 stone. 4th appearance for Yannick Schwaller. This team went 6-6 last year, but did win the bronze medal back in 2023. They are 52-25 on the season, won the bronze medal at the European Championship, did make the playoffs in 3 out of the 4 slams so far this year, and won the Swiss Nationals, which includes a 2 out of 3 final which they swept over Team Hosley. For the season, they are giving up 6.16 points per game, which I think is a little high when you look at all the teams in this field per 8 ends. I think that might be a bit of a concern for them. But again, I don't know, Scott. I actually think this team might have the highest variance in the field, in that they could win and they could miss the playoffs. Like I genuinely think that they have the biggest swing possibility of all the teams in the field.
Yeah, that's probably right. But I do think that they still are a team that could win, which is why I grouped them in there. They've got the pedigree. They're all really great players. They've all played against all these teams before, right? And have beaten everyone. So like they've done it before. It's not a question of, oh, are they going to be able to do it? They're regulars on the tour. They play every week in the Grand Slams. They know what it takes to beat them. And it's just about whether they put it all together in 1 week. Is the likelihood high? I'd say the likelihood's not high, but it is possible.
Yeah, I think that's fair for sure. So again, we'll see how this team sort of comes together and what they can do in their last big international spiel before the Olympics. I guess the Euros too, but they're the last.
Yeah.
All right, Scott, let's then go to the European champions. It is Germany. Mark Miskatowicz, his 7th appearance. Last year went 8-5, which is his best result. First time over 500 in the World Championship. The team is the same with Benjamin Kapp, Felix Mezenthal, Johannes Schürrle. Round out the squad. They are 62-24 on the season. Scott, they beat Sixten Totzek 3-2 in a best of 5 in the European qualifier to come out of Germany. And good thing for them they did, because they went 9-3 through the Euros, winning the European Championship, beat Nick Edin in the final, beat Bruce Mount in the final, beat Nick Edin, Yannick Schwaller, and Magnus Ramsfeld along the way. One thing that those teams have in common is that they're all in this field.
Mm-hmm.
A quarterfinal at both the National and the Masters, which were the two slams that they played in. 27% steel efficiency on the season, which is very high, which indicates that they like some rocks in play and are able to generate points without the hammer, which is good for them. But Scott, do you think they can keep this run going? That they've had a very good season. It's not just the Euros. Overall, very good season.
Yeah.
Can they keep it going?
I doubt it, but why not, right? We saw them do it. So I guess my lesson that I was supposed to have learned is that you give people the benefit of the doubt when they win an event. So coming into this, like you said, they've beaten all these teams that they beat at the Euros. Overall, they've had a pretty good year. So, yeah, I think this is sort of the dark horse team to make the playoffs and make some noise.
All right. I think they have a pretty good chance here. It's, again, that middle, right? So it's the games against the Swiss and the teams we'll talk about, the Norwegians, the Americans, the Chinese. Like those are the games that they are going to have to win. I think it comes down to kind of the matchups amongst those 4, maybe 5 teams that will determine the last 2 playoff spots.
I think you're right. Yeah.
All right, Scott, let's move on to one of those teams then, and it is the United States of America, represented this year by Corey Dropkin, who played in the Worlds back in 2023. That event was in Las Vegas, alongside Thomas Howell, Andrew Stapera, and Mark Fenner. The Las Vegas event was in 2022. They went 8-7 at that event. On the season, they are 47-29. They lost to Team Casper, Daniel Casper, in the 1-2 game at the American Championships, but then went through John Schuster and Daniel Casper to win within just an incredible shot on Corey Dropkin's last to win the American Championship. Last week, they won the event in Martinsville, the tune-up event, beating Scott Howard in the final. Hammer efficiency a little low on the season at 41%, but 50% force efficiency. So both of those numbers, you'd like it a little bit higher coming into this event, but they are a good team.
They're definitely a good team. When I look at their ratings for the year, only 5-16 against teams in the KenPom doubletakeout.com top 10, which includes a lot of teams that are going to be there this week. If you expand it out to the top 25, 8 and 9. So I think it's, again, what you mentioned before, is that those games in the middle are going to be the key, just like they will be with Germany. That said, this team is good enough that if they're feeling it, if they're on it, I think they can win. I think they can beat any team in this field. Again, will they? Probably not, but the skill is all there.
Yeah, I should note too that Corey Dropkin, along with Corey Teasy, won the 2023 World Mixed Doubles. So,
Yep.
That's again demonstrating how good of a last rock thrower they have on this team. Mm-hmm. Should note that Christopher Plies is there as the alternate, and some people, Scott, just understand the assignment when it comes to the media guide. Christopher Plies is one of them. Mm-hmm. In hobbies, he listed looking for agates, which that could be a fun hobby, but
okay,
you don't hear it that much.
I guess not.
Yeah. All right, Scott, let's move on to, I'm going to go out of my order here, and I'm going to actually jump to China, the very young team out of China making their return to the Men's World Curling Championship. It's Xiaoming Zhu alongside Zhuqing Fei, Zihu Wang, and Shi Chao Li make up this team. Scott, Fei and Li are the 2023, or two of the members of the 2023 World Junior Gold Medalist team. This team, as a foursome, won the Pan-Continental Championship back in the fall. They beat Schuster in the semifinal and Abe in the final from Japan. Won the Belgian men's event, also won an event in Vernon this season. They are 40-20 overall on the season. Very young team, obviously, with the guys winning the World Juniors back in 2023. They're 22 and 23 respectively. Eighth appearance for Xiaoming Zhu as the skip. He was the third for Rui Lu for a while, but I'm going to just say, like, they were 4-3 in the round robin at the Pan-Continental and won those two games, but that's got to be worth something. And maybe I'm influenced by putting them sort of this high in my rankings because of what China did on the women's side. Traditionally, the Chinese men program has not been as strong as the Chinese women's program, but that 2023 gold really influences me, and the amount of reps that they can get in the Chinese program, you just don't know. We haven't seen them really outside the Pan-Continental at a big spot. So I'm very curious to see this team.
Yeah, I think the key there was the record of 4-3 and then running it into the playoffs. So I don't see that as a super dominant gold medal, but gold medals are gold medals, right? You don't keep track of how many games you lose to get there. You get there. So I think I would be super, super surprised if this team, based on the quality of the teams that we've already mentioned, if they repeat what the women were able to do and end up on a podium finish and qualifying their NOC for the Olympics. So I think what they're going to be trying to do is fight for that last playoff spot, maybe try to run something miraculous like they were able to do in the Pan-Continental, and then set themselves up to go into that Olympic qualifying event to get one of those last two spots.
Yeah, that is, I think, the most likely scenario for sure. So,
yeah.
All right, let's move on then to Japan. And it is a team skipped by Tsuyoshi Yamaguchi, but he is the third thrower, as Riku Yanagisawa is the fourth thrower. Rounding out the team, you have Takuru Yamamoto and Satoshi Koizumi. Now, you might remember this is the team from 2 years ago here in Ottawa. Yamamoto was 16 at the time. Now, if my math is correct, that would make him 18 now. So still the youngest player in the field, and he looked like a 16-year-old too. He very much had a young look to him. So same team is back. They went 5-7 back in 2023. This season, they are 37-25, 36% hammer efficiency. You might note that when we were talking about the Chinese team, I said that they beat the Japanese team of Abe in the final. And why is it different? Well, at the Japanese National Championship in February, this team went 7-1 and won that event. So here they are at the World Championship. I don't know, Scott, what to make of this team. It's a young team overall, but not that much experience on the world stage. Second appearance for all of them except for Yamaguchi. It's his 8th appearance at a Worlds. I think things could go right for them, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they missed the playoffs.
I think so. Yeah, I think I was thinking of Team Abe when I thought that they could win. So I think this, the goal for this is more make the playoffs. That's and feasting on that middle with, they've got a chance to come up and take down one of those top teams too. But it's less consistent than with the teams we've already mentioned.
All right. The final team, I think, that's in that middle. Oh, no, sorry. Maybe the final team in the middle. We will see how far we want to extend the middle. But we'll go to Norway and Magnus Ramsfeld. 5th appearance for him alongside Martin Sessaker, Bendik Ramsfeld, and Goat Nepstad. Nepstad is the one in the house with Ramsfeld when he goes to throw, but throws the lead stone. They went 4-8 last year, 47-31 on the season, lost the final of the challenge to Ryland Kleider. These are your European bronze medalists this year. They did lose the Norwegian final to Team Hostmelingen. They did go undefeated prior to that final when they lost to Hostmelingen. Overall on the season, they are giving up 6.5 points per game, a little high again compared to the rest of the field. And the hammer efficiency is down compared to everybody at 42%. So again, Norway is a country at this point where every so often they can sort of bump up and, win 6 or 7 games in the round robin, sneak into the playoffs, but not really, you would think, a medal threat.
Yeah, the problem is 2 years ago when we saw them here in Ottawa, Sean, they were 10-3 overall. I think they were 10-2 and then lost one of the playoff games, or 9 anyway, it doesn't matter. And you're just like, oh yeah, this team is pretty good. I guess they could win. So that's sort of stuck in my head just because I was here watching it.
Right.
That I don't want to discount them because those performances are there and they're available. So, like you said, they're bronze medalists at the Euros.
Mm-hmm.
So just, able to put it together sometimes. So I can't write them totally off.
No, you can't. It's, but again, maybe not as much of a variance in my mind as the Swiss, but again, another high variance team.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right, let's move on to Czechia, the 5th World Championship appearance for Lukas Klima alongside Marek Cernovsky, Martin Jurek, and Lukas Klippa. They went 4-8 last year, finishing in 9th place, tied with Norway. As we get to the Olympic qualification stuff, that is something to take note of as we move forward. 30-25 on the season, giving up 7 points per game. Hammer efficiency way down at 33%. Went 2-7 at the Euros. Last year, Scott, Klima was the 11th ranked skip. Cernovsky, the 8th ranked third. Jurek, the 11th ranked second. And Klippa was the lowest ranked lead. So it's top to bottom on this team that you need improvement compared to the rest of the field if you're trying to secure that Olympic berth, which they really want. They were the last team out in 2022. So they have a chance here. If not a good chance, they have their chance. It's on their proverbial racket, but they all, compared to the rest of the field, have to improve their standing.
100%. Yeah. And what their goal for the week is going to be is, like you said, to get into that Olympic qualification spot. Right now, they're sitting ninth with 5 points. The Netherlands are ahead of them.
Yep.
Netherlands are not here this week. So they will have the opportunity they will pass the Netherlands. And so what I think they're going to need to do is stay in that middle, stay ahead of Japan and Korea are the two that are sort of chasing them, as well as Norway. So they've got a chance. I think it's on their racket. And like you said, they're just going to have to be a little more consistent up and down the lineup to be able to do that.
Yeah. So they have a 1-point advantage over Norway right now. And it's Norway, Japan and Korea, yes. But if they finish ahead of Norway, they're likely to finish ahead of those two teams, I would guess. But they have a bit of a leeway on Japan. They're 2 points ahead of Japan. So it's really going to be interesting at that last spot. Because right now, the Dutch have the last spot. But as you say, they're not here. So one of those 3 teams or 4 teams is going to get it.
Yeah. So that'll be the real fight to watch for in the lower half of the bracket.
Yeah. All right, 2 teams left. So let's move on to the very young team representing South Korea. It is Hyojum Kim, Eunbin Kim, Jeongim Pyo, and Jinwoo Kim. Collectively, Scott, they are under 90 years old. They are total combined age of 87. The skip is 21. Everyone else is 22. They went 2-7 at the 2023 World Juniors, 3-4 at the Pan Continental Championship. They shot collectively 81.2% at the Pan Con, which was 4th in the field. Japan was 81.5, but their hammer efficiency was really low, only at 29%, but they only gave up 12 multiple scores in the course of the event. And they were about 6.5 points for and 6.5 points against over the course of the week. Now, most of the stats I've been giving on points per game are primarily 8 end games. Those are 10 end games. So overall, Scott, at that event, they demonstrated that they wanted to be a lower scoring team, fewer rocks in play, keep things close. I think that's a good strategy for them to adopt this week if they can as well, is to keep things as open as possible.
Absolutely. Yeah, we talk about that quite a bit, right? That when you're not probably as good as other teams, what you want to do is keep it close, keep it as open as you can, and then take the chances only when you've got a real good opening. Make sure to bail early and bail often. So I think that should be the strategy for this team. And who knows, right? They're gaining experience at this point and working towards getting into the Olympics.
All right. And the final team in the field, it is Austria, skipped by Matthias Genner alongside Jonas Bakofen, Martin Reckel, and Florian Mave. It is the debut for Reichel in the world, or excuse me, it is a debut for all of the team. First time in the worlds for Austria since 2002, where they went winless. So they do not have a win in the World Championship in the 21st century. This team went 3-6 at the European Championship. But Scott, they came out of the Euro Bs in 2023. So it is a meteoric rise for Team Genner here. They are 8-34 on the season, 26% hammer efficiency. So maybe not a threat. But if you look at the Euros, they were 0-6 and looked like relegation was in their future. But then they came up, beat Lucas Klima, beat Rob Rechless, beat Wooter to get those 3 wins. And here they are. So I guess don't count them out. If when they're down and seemingly out, they're not going to give up, I guess is what I mean. Like they're going to give you games.
No, for sure. And this is an awesome story, right? To get a team back into the World Championship fold for the first time in 23 years. Should be proud of the accomplishment. And I think that will be their goal, is to get that first win for Austria at a World Championship event. But we saw just this past week, and the women's, how difficult that is in the case of Lithuania. So
yes.
we wish them the best and hope they have a really fun time in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan.
Yeah. Hit up the tunnels. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Both sides. There's the side about the Chinese immigrants and the side about like Al Capone. One is more historic based and the other is pure show. And you can guess which is which. But both are fun to go down and see the tunnels and go to the spa. It's a lovely spa. And the murals. Musash is a great place. It's wonderful.
Let's go, Sean. Let's go.
All right. So, Scott, those are the 13 teams in the field. As we mentioned, the Olympic qualifying is going to be determined following this event. Italy, of course, is in. Sweden, Canada, Great Britain, as Scotland, Germany, the United States, Switzerland, and the Dutch would be in right now. But as we said, Czechia, Norway, Japan, and Korea are going to be fighting for it. Switzerland, if they don't have a good week and they are down on that variance, they could be out as well if they finish behind Czechia and Norway. Mm-hmm. They have a little more wiggle room, but the top 6, I think, should be fine in Sweden, Canada, Great Britain, Germany, and the United States, and probably Switzerland.
Probably. But, we'll see how the table shakes out. We saw like the U.S. women were much lower in the table last week. So could see the same, but we'll see.
All right, Scott, as we are wont to do, I will go first just because I don't want to be influenced by your heater. Or do you want to go first because you're on a heater and don't want to be influenced by me? Because I've written mine down for whatever it's worth.
Oh, okay. I haven't written mine down.
Okay. So who do you like?
I like... Wow. I think I just like Bruce Mowat to win. They always do well in Canada. They got a traveling band of merry followers that come and yell stuff at the arena. This should be a lot of fun. So Scotland, Bruce Mowat.
Okay.
And I'll take for podium.
Yeah.
I'll take Canada and give me a sneaky Germany there.
Germany. All right. Miskatowicz makes the podium. All right, Scott, I'm going to go with Canada and Brad Jacobs because I do remember back in 2013 when he won the Brier, won the Worlds, and then won the trials and won the Olympics. And he's a quarter of the way to that same route. So I'll go with that. Bruce Mowat, Scotland, silver, and Italy is my bronze pick. So there you have it. Our picks and a full preview of all 13 teams in the field. All the Canada games, of course, are going to be on TSN here domestically. Internationally, the World Curling TV and all the streaming stuff that they got going on. Check your local listings and what is available in your country because it varies all around the world. And for draw times, Saskatchewan, because we are now here in Canada, North America, have already gone to daylight saving. The draw times are going to be 2 hours behind Eastern. So I believe it's 9 to 7 local. I could be wrong on that. But again,
probably.
But we can confirm that. But yeah, so
I'll confirm it right now.
All right. And for those of you who are in Europe where there is where daylight saving time is observed, remember, spring forward this weekend. Saturday night, Europe moves ahead. And we go back to the normal difference between us and them, which for me this week, Scott, has posed a couple of minor problems in organizing some discussions with European friends and colleagues, getting confused on what the time difference is right now.
Yeah, it's fair. It's that weird in-between time. I think, Sean, there's been a couple years when I've actually done the fall back twice.
Oh, yeah.
Because I've done it here and then traveled over to Europe for some stuff and then got another free hour of sleep.
There you go. Did you? Yeah. And then you don't have to give that back in the spring because you only do it once.
Exactly. So I'm really just gaining time.
Yeah. What do you do with that extra hour?
I celebrate privately.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Excuse me.
Yes.
So yes, can confirm that the draw time's 9 to 7 local there in Moose Jaw. So
That's
you
right.
can adjust your PVRs accordingly. So there you have it, everybody. Our full preview. We will be back with you next week to do a little more talking about World Championships goings on. So if you want to hear that and every other show that we do here on the pod, do subscribe wherever you get your podcast, like, rate, comment, all that other good stuff. Helps other people find the show, keeps us growing. Head on over to GameOfThronesPod.com. Past episodes are there under the episode tab, and a link to the merch as well. On the socials at Game of Stones Pod, Game of Stones Podcast on Facebook. And if you want to let us know what you want to hear on the show, Game of Stones Podcast at gmail.com. Scott, we are coming down to the end of our curling season. We have one game left. We are out of the running for bar bucks. So what is left to play for?
Just fun, I think, Sean. Just play for fun. Yeah, last night, man, I was feeling pretty good throwing my last in the 7th and ended up giving them a shot for 4, which they made, which I really didn't see coming.
No, me neither.
To be honest, I just missed it the wrong way, I guess. And there you have it. But overall, it was a pretty fun game. A little bit of a drunk scoreboard.
Yes, the final score was 10-9.
Yeah, made a lot of shots, missed a couple, but so be it. But next week, I think we're playing another team that we've never played before,
which is always fun.
Yeah, so a new team to the league this year. So it'll be fun to play against them and get to hang out after and chat and see what they're all about.
There you go. And put a bow on what's been a pretty good season for us. I was looking at the stats that I keep today. And by stats, I mean number of ends played and how much money I spend. Wins, losses too. But so far been a very successful season. So we'll talk about all that when we put a bow on our season. It'll be my last game overall on the season. I have one more Thursday night game and then the Monday night game, and that'll be it. So looking forward to hopefully ending on a positive note. Hope all of you out there whose seasons are winding down as well are able to end on a good note and head into the off season with good curling vibes. And of course, we will be with you all summer long to talk about this wonderful sport that we all so much love. So until we talk to you again, keep those brooms on the ice and don't dump that intern.
Make the final.